There is only a handful of maps in the Call of Duty Zombies discography that I have only played a select few times or not once at all. One of those maps is one that is often referred to as one of the best non-ether maps, and it's become something of a cult classic over the last few years, and the map I'm talking about is Ancient Evil. Now, I don't have anything against Black Ops 4 Zombies. In fact, over the last 2 years or so, Black Ops 4 has become somewhat a favourite of mine to play. But at the time of Ancient Evil's release, my feelings for the game were very much the opposite of what they are now. I didn't enjoy the game, I didn't like the mechanics, and quite frankly, I hated all of the maps apart from 9. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't boycotting the game or anything like that. I still played all the new releases on day 1 or as soon as possible, which is exactly what I did with Ancient Evil. I remember getting to around 17, dying, and then just thinking, yep, that's enough of that, and then proceeded to not play the map for 2 years. In fact, I've played this map so few times since it launched in 2019 that I can recall every time I played this map prior to this recording, which was a grand total of 4 times. Yep, just 4. That's it. And I also believe this will be the first time this map has ever been on this channel, and also the first time that I will ever be attempting to beat this Easter egg. As you can imagine, my knowledge when it comes to this map is it's very slim, and by that I mean it's absolutely non-existent, just like my brain cells, which was about to become very apparent. The only thing I knew what to do was activating the Sentinel artifact. Like, yeah, I really did mean what I said. And with that being said, I am so grateful that Mr. Awful Waffles exists, because without him and his guide for this map, I would have been 100% screwed. So the first few steps for this Easter egg aren't really steps at all, they're more setup than anything. There are 4 gauntlets on the map that all need to be built and then upgraded, as well as several challenges that need to be done. The challenges are the main thing here that starts the Easter egg. You need to complete about 6 or 7 of these, which isn't very difficult in the slightest. But you see, that's for a normal human being with a normal functioning brain. You see, I decided to try and multitask the challenges and the gauntlets, which was my first mistake because I learned today that I can't multitask for shit. And all this did was cause many great confusions for my pea-sized brain. But on round 3, I start the process of getting the Fallen Hand of Gaia, which isn't too difficult at all. A short lockdown and then the weapon's literally just yours. But this is where the tiny nature of my brain takes over, as I knew there was a secondary firing option for these gauntlets, but I didn't know you unlock them once you start the upgrade step. So I then proceeded to spend the next 10 minutes looking through all of my settings in hopes of finding the keybind for alternate fire modes, which obviously I never did because it doesn't exist. You know, just once again reinforcing the fact that I am an idiot. Oh yeah, I also spammed almost every key on my keyboard, and in doing so I accidentally used one of my elixirs, which gave me some extra perk. Once I realized that maybe you unlock the secondary firing option after upgrading the gauntlet, I got to doing just that, which once again was very straightforward. Find the bush with the glowing crystal, shoot them, and take the plant to the altar. Even I can't mess that up. So in round 4 and 25 minutes into this run, we finally got our redeemed Hand of Gaia. After getting that gauntlet upgraded, I swiftly moved on to the next upgrade, which was the Hand of Chimera. Also very straightforward. Shoot some mirrors and then run the flame back to the altar. Easy. Upgrade done, and we were 2 out of 4 gauntlets down on round 5. Next, it was time to make our way to the Pack-a-Punch, so I grabbed the bridle, took down the big guy, and left what I can only describe as crystallized hell, basically. So when I reached what I'm going to call the Underworld for this video, I knew there were several things that needed doing, including building the Pegasus Strike and freeing the birds. I got the Pegasus Strike built, and then it was time to activate Pack-a-Punch. Lockdown complete, Pack-a-Punch is open, and I am now free to come and go as I please. So, I did. And it was now when I realized I should probably do some of the challenges. Over the next few rounds, I got 3 done, and then it was back to the Underworld to finish the final 2 gauntlets and upgrades. Uranus, or Wind, to save the embarrassment of butchering that name again, was first, and this proved to be a little more tricky than those in the topside section of the map, but with a bit of time, the upgrade was complete, and then there was 1 left. But first I returned topside to complete some more challenges. Round 14, I actually ended up taking our first down of the game as I got surrounded by zombies and a blight father of all things, as I was trying to pick up a dormant hand. Luckily, I did manage to get myself an extra self-revive by completing a challenge shortly after. A couple of rounds and a new gun later, it was time to do the final gauntlet, the Hand of Sharon. The Hand of Sharon was much trickier than I expected, but we get it done, and then it's topside to finish off our challenges, which I finally get done on round 19, meaning I can now actually start the Easter egg. You see what I mean about being bad at multitasking? First thing first, however, I actually swapped out the Titan for the Auger because the Titan sucks and the Auger does not. So with our new and powerful daddy of a gun, I got the shield built and it was time to go stab some oil. No, like, seriously. With all 3 oil spills stabbed and subsequently lit on fire, we were on to the next step, which required the Hand of Charon, which I thankfully already had equipped, shoot a charged shot at my feet, and then shoot some statues. Simple, really. The next step, however, which is also stupidly simple, turned out to be one of the most frustrating things I have ever had to do in this game. Starts off by throwing your spear from the shield into 3 separate walls around the map. Simple enough, right? The next part to this step, however, can go F itself, because now you can see some cogs moving inside the wall, and what you have to do is wait until a tiny, barely visible cog moves past the bigger cog, and what you have to do is to perfectly time a thrown spear so the small cog gets trapped next to the big cog, so now they're both rotating correctly, and holy hell, this part sucks. This first wall was super easy. You're right up close, and it's super easy to get. Second wall, bit harder, but after a few tries, it's done. The last wall, though, is basically just throw and hope, and it took me 2 full rounds and God knows how many spears to finally land this stupid shot. But it of course wasn't the end there, because there's a 4th cog that now needs locking by doing the exact same thing. This one's also quite frustrating as the timing needs to be perfect, but I get it done soon enough. I started this step on round 21 and it ended on round 26. Talk about skill issue, huh? But the pain doesn't end there, as I was now onto what is probably the hardest step in this entire Easter egg, the Scepter and Sundial step. First, I needed to get this key out of these crystals, which was easy enough. Annoy the big fella, he blasts you as you're right in front of the crystal, which breaks it, then you pick up the key. Easy. Place the key in Ra's hand and then grab the Hand of Hemera and place that in his other hand. This begins a sequence straight from hell itself. Ra shoots out this beam of light / fire. I honestly don't really know what it is, but he needs to shoot the wall in front of him until it breaks. Sounds easy enough, right? That is until every enemy under the sun and moon spawns in, including skeletons and a Blight Father. Now the skeletons' job here is to block this beam with their shield, and if they do so for about 4 or 5 seconds, Ra just gives up and you basically just have to go again, which gets very infuriating very quickly. And this is also a very difficult step, like I said, and it's so difficult in fact I end up taking a down. But I don't just take 1 down though, do I? I actually end up taking a 2nd down shortly after. And then I died shortly after that. It took me 2 hours of learning and playing to get to this point, but quite frankly, I wasn't satisfied. So I ran it back. This time, as I actually had a little bit of knowledge of what to do, I got to work pretty much immediately. As by round 7, I made it to the Underworld, but I'd already completed 3 challenges, as well as got the shield and the Hand of Gaia built. This time I was focusing more on getting stuff done that I needed first, such as the challenges and the Hand of Charon. As I was in the Underworld, I got to work on upgrading the Hand of Charon, which I got done fairly quickly, and by round 12, I had all but one of the gauntlets upgraded, Pack-a-Punch open, and a few upgrades on the Strife. Back topside, I finished off the remaining challenges by round 15, and it was time to start working on main quest stuff. The oil and statues were done in no time, and then it was onto the dreaded step of throwing long pointy things in holes, which took me 2 full rounds. At least they didn't take as long this time. Round 18, and it was time for the Scepter and Sundial step once more. Here is when I then upgraded the Hand of Hemera and had it ready to go in my inventory. I had already taken it down previously in the game, so I knew I needed to be a little more on it this time. So I decided to switch out the Strife for something with a bit more oomph. And that oomph was coming from the trebuchet. I got it upgraded as much as I could with the points that I had, and it was time for hell to come home once again. It was obviously very risky using the trebuchet without PhD, but I made it work. Well, not without taking it down first and also failing the step once or twice, but somehow the trebuchet got me through this god-awful experience, and now we were into unfamiliar grounds. The Sundial step was honestly the one part of this I was dreading before actually coming into doing this Easter egg, on the fact that I have to count how many places the correct symbol moves, timing it perfectly to lock it in place. It honestly just seems like it's made to annoy an idiot like myself. We got ourselves an electric Chad to spawn, and we take him out on the plate. Symbols are moving around, and I spot the blue one. And of course, I then mess up locking it in place, and we have to go again. New round starts, and I'm thinking, why don't we just use the Pegasus strike? So as I'm in the animation, I just get insta-downed by a horde of zombies, and that's attempt 2 over. I'd love to sit here and say that's it, F this map, end of video, but that's not quite where we're at, as there is a 3rd attempt, because apparently I didn't hurt myself enough by trying this multiple times already. For this attempt, I switched things up a little bit. I added the elixir that gives you bonus points, which I used immediately after spawning and ran straight for the Sentinel artifact. Afterwards, I focused on challenges by making sure I had a new one at the beginning of every round, round, and by round 8 I was in the underworld with all my challenges done, both the topside gauntlets upgraded and the shield built. In the underworld, things do get a little wonky as I end up taking both of my downs here within minutes of one another. The first coming when a big guy shows up as I'm doing the share on lockdown and just bonks me, and the other one I'm doing the pack-a-punch lockdown and I get myself trapped. Although I'm still thinking to myself, this is still a great start, so we just keep on going. But now I am just down to 1 life. By the end of round 10, both of the underworld gauntlets were upgraded and I had all the parts for the Pegasus strike, which I may have forgot to build. But round 10 and we're topside, beginning the first steps of the Easter egg. We blasted through the Orlan statue step and surprisingly managed to get through the cog step pretty quickly too, as it only took me a single round this time. But then we were back to the scepter step. This time I opted for PhD in my loadout, so I grabbed a trebuchet and once again got upgraded as much as I possibly could. Things started off well, and I mean very well. I must have made it 30 seconds into this lockdown and I was so close to completing this step, but then in the blink of an eye I get hit too many times, I miss a couple of shots and I end up taking my final down of the game. This run took me 1 hour. 1 full hour to get through 11 rounds just to then die. I know there's a day where I will beat this map, but today it just is not that day. My brain is just a big old soup bowl after doing this, and it hurts to think of this map anymore. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. But thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do drop a like, leave a sub if you haven't already, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.